Obviously, redshirting's on the table for both of them. No final decisions have been made, but it's tough. It puts you in a tough situation. You play Bryce in a game like this for 3 minutes, it burns a year of eligibility. I wish it was easier. I wish there was a set number of games you could play a guy like they have in football. I think that would make a lot of sense, for some of these kids, but we don't. So I can only operate with the rules that we currently have, because I want Bryce to have the best college basketball career, the most options in his college basketball career long term, whatever that looks like. And I just feel like throwing a kid with a lot of potential that's developing, he or Mobile, a few garbage minutes. It might feel good now, but potentially, down the line, it could be, something you're
just disappointed in Arizona didn't take care of business early, because Bryce James supposed to play today. You owe
sure?
that.
You don't think they're
Nash, you know this.
Yeah.
They're a young team.
Yeah.
So they didn't take care of business in the first half. They were only up 7.
Correct.
But your players that is starting and getting the big minutes, Coach, you know this.
Oh, yeah.
You owe those guys at the end of the bench to take care of business, to get them in the game
so
on national TV.
So is that the motivation after this? Like, we need to take care so that your teammates can get in the game.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. These guys work hard all week long in practice, and they know, hey, there aren't a lot of games on Arizona's schedule. They're going to be up 20 late. This was one of them. But the guys got in. A lot of guys got some time.
They did.
Arizona built that bench up a little bit.
The moment Bryce James stepped onto Arizona's campus, the atmosphere shifted. He wasn't treated like a normal freshman trying to find his place on a new team. He walked into a spotlight that felt pre-installed, pre-scripted, and permanently set on high. Cameras were already waiting, reporters were already drafting headlines, and fans were already imagining a highlight reel that didn't exist yet. Bryce didn't say a word, but the noise around him never stopped. Everyone wanted to see the next chapter of the James family legacy. But unlike his older brother Bronny, Bryce didn't arrive as a 5-star headline grabber or a national sensation built for viral clips. He entered Arizona as a 3-star recruit, a player with potential flashes and a recognizable last name, but not the kind of prospect who usually gets treated like the future of a program. And that created a strange, uncomfortable reality. The world viewed him like a rising star, but the coaching staff viewed him like a long-term project. Every practice, every warm-up, every moment he walked into the gym, there was a quiet tension. Was Bryce being pushed toward immediate impact, or simply expected to survive the weight of his father's name? For the first time in his career, he had to confront a question nobody dared to say out loud, but everyone whispered, was he truly ready for this stage? Or was the spotlight bigger than his current game? But the real twist came when the season started. When the season tipped off, everything Bryce expected to ease into suddenly became harder to reach. Arizona didn't just start strong, they started rolling. Game after game, the Wildcats built leads, early closed games confidently, and looked like a polished tournament team from day one. Their rotation was tight disciplined and built around players who already understood the system. Veterans controlled the pace, returning contributors filled their roles perfectly, and the chemistry looked years in the making. And then came Koa Pete, the freshman phenom who arrived with less noise than Bryce but instantly exploded onto the national radar. A thunderous debut, a player of the week buzz, highlights dominating social feeds. Every clip of Koa Pete rising, dunking, or celebrating felt like a quiet reminder Arizona already had their breakout freshman. They didn't need another. The team was winning, the machine was humming, and everything about the rotation made Bryce's situation more complicated. When a system works this well, no coach in the country is going to tinker with it, especially not to force minutes for a developing freshman who isn't ready to impact winning right away. At first, fans kept asking the same optimistic question: when will Bryce get his moment? But as Arizona kept stacking victories without ever calling his name, the tone changed. Analysts stopped predicting his debut. Interviews grew awkward. The excitement around his arrival slowly shifted into quiet concern, then into confusion, then into a new question nobody thought they'd hear this early in the season. Will he even touch the court at all this year? And that's when the conversation turned darker. Most fans didn't realize just how unforgiving college basketball can be until Bryce James landed in the middle of its harshest rule. In football, a freshman can play 4 full games and still keep an entire year of eligibility. There's room for mistakes, adjustment, and experimentation. Basketball, not even close. The moment Bryce steps on the court for one single minute, even in garbage time, even in a blowout, the entire year is gone. No reset, no flexibility, no second chance. That rule alone changed everything. It turned what should have been harmless late-game minutes into a high-stakes gamble. And when Coach Tommy Lloyd finally addressed the situation publicly, you could hear the weight in his voice. He didn't dance around it. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He said the quiet part out loud. Playing Bryce right now might do more harm than good, Lloyd explained the dilemma with unusual honesty. Playing him for 3 meaningless minutes burns a year Bryce may desperately need later. Keeping him on the bench feels cruel in the moment but could save him long term. Protecting his future means sacrificing his present, and that's the kind of decision coaches lose sleep over. Because despite the chatter, Bryce isn't being ignored, he's being shielded. Lloyd's message underneath all the careful wording was clear. This isn't punishment, this isn't politics, and it isn't about hype. It's about strategy, long-term, uncomfortable, necessary strategy. But even strategy comes with consequences. No matter how hard Bryce works or how quietly Arizona tries to manage his development, there's one reality he can't escape: the LeBron effect. The moment his last name appears on a roster, the story is no longer just about basketball. It becomes a national conversation, a trending topic, a breaking news segment, whether he deserves it or not. Even the smallest decision around Bryce turns into a headline overnight, amplified by millions of eyes waiting to analyze every detail. LeBron himself has tried to stay in the background, insisting he wants both of his sons to build their own paths. But the truth is unavoidable. His presence hovers over every decision Arizona makes. If Bryce plays, it's because he's LeBron's son. If he doesn't play, it's because he's LeBron's son. The shadow stretches either way, and the narrative always circles back to the NBA's biggest name. Then come the comparisons, ones Bryce never asked for. Bronny's rapid rise from USC freshman to NBA rookie left fans convinced Bryce would follow the same arc. Same spotlight, same hype, same trajectory. But Bryce's development hasn't been identical, and that difference only intensifies the conversation. NBA scouts curious and cautious are already monitoring him despite the fact he hasn't played a single college minute. Every warm-up clip gets dissected. Every practice rumor gets magnified. Every decision he makes feels like it's being watched from 10 different angles. Behind closed doors, the pressure builds quietly. Bryce isn't just trying to earn minutes, he's trying to survive expectations that would crush most adults, let alone an 18-year-old still figuring out who he is. And the weight gets even heavier for an 18-year-old. Before Arizona, Bryce's basketball journey was anything but stable. He bounced between high schools, hoping each new stop would finally give him the clarity and confidence he was searching for. Sierra Canyon, Campbell Hall, Notre Dame. Back to Sierra Canyon, every move came with new expectations, new systems, and new pressure to prove himself. Those constant changes shaped him into a resilient kid, but they also left him without a true foundation. Arizona was supposed to be that fresh start, his clean slate, his moment to grow without noise. But reality rarely follows the script. Even with undeniable flashes of talent, smooth, shooting, growing size, improved footwork, Bryce is still raw, still maturing physically, still catching up to the speed and physicality that Arizona's older, stronger players handle with ease. And for someone raised in the public eye, admitting he needs time isn't simple. It feels like failure even when it's normal. What makes it harder is the daily grind that nobody sees. Bryce practices hard, competes, studies film lifts, works through drills, yet never hears his name called on game night. There's a quiet humiliation in that. Dressing out, warming up, smiling for cameras, then watching the entire game from the bench. Visible to millions, yet invisible where it matters most. Instead of the fresh beginning he hoped for, this season feels like another waiting room. Another chapter where he's preparing, not performing. Another moment where patience is demanded and progress is invisible. But Arizona's silence hides a much bigger plan. What looks like punishment from the outside is in reality one of the most calculated decisions Arizona has made in years. A redshirt season gives Bryce something he's never truly had in his basketball journey time. No pressure to perform, no spotlight dictating his every move, no panic about mistakes costing games or headlines. It's a full year of growth without consequences, where every practice rep, every film session, every weight room breakthrough actually sticks instead of getting buried under the rush of a demanding season. College basketball is unforgiving. The speed is brutal, the physicality is constant, and the system requires precision. Bryce needs time to adjust to get stronger, faster, and smarter on the court. He needs to absorb the playbook build instincts and catch up to players who've spent years in this system. Most freshmen are allowed to learn through mistakes in real games. Bryce, however, can't afford to burn an entire year just to play meaningless late-game minutes. Arizona knows this. They aren't trying to squeeze a few highlights out of him. They're trying to build a multi-year contributor, someone who becomes an essential piece instead of a rushed cameo lost in the shuffle. And they're protecting him from what might be worse than not playing, being exposed too early before he's ready and letting the world write him off before his career even begins. This isn't about the third game of the season. Arizona is thinking about 2026, 2027, and 2028 years where Bryce could be a polished, powerful, confident force instead of a struggling freshman thrown into the fire too soon. And this slow burn might be exactly what Bryce needs. In today's basketball world, not every star is born on a viral mixtape or explodes as a freshman. Some of the strongest NBA careers come from late bloomers, players who took the slower, steadier route, building layer after layer until their game became undeniable. A redshirt year puts Bryce right into that category. Instead of sprinting toward the draft with incomplete tools, he gets the chance to develop without the glare, without the noise, and without the unrealistic expectations attached to his last name. NBA scouts quietly favor that kind of growth. They don't just look for highlights. They look for maturity, adaptability, and upward trajectory. Players who rise too fast often crash just as quickly. Players who rise gradually tend to peak higher and last longer. Bronny took the fast-track path entering the NBA after a single college season filled with hype, criticism, and constant pressure. Bryce has the chance to take a completely different road, a multi-year journey where his game evolves naturally instead of being forced into a spotlight he's not fully ready for. And that might be the biggest advantage he could ever get. With a full year to strengthen his body, sharpen his shooting, and understand the college game, Bryce could return as a well-rounded, confident player, someone who doesn't rely on being LeBron's son to stay relevant. Instead, he becomes a legitimate prospect with real skill, real improvement, and real potential. The kind of player NBA scouts consider a project worth investing in, not just a name worth marketing. If the world stops rushing him, Bryce might finally grow into the player he wants to be, not the player people assume he should be. And with time, patience, and development on his side, this redshirt year could become the turning point that redefines his entire future. But the final twist is the one nobody saw coming. What feels like a setback today might be the exact moment Bryce James looks back on years from now as the season that changed everything. For the first time in his basketball life, the noise around him has faded just enough for real development to take center stage. His story is no longer driven by hype, viral clips, or the weight of a last name. It's driven by growth, by patience, by becoming the kind of player who earns minutes, not inherits them. A silent season isn't glamorous. It won't trend on social media, and it won't fill highlight reels. But it can shape a player in ways that immediate success never could. This year gives Bryce the chance to rebuild his foundation to become stronger, smarter, more confident, and more complete without the fear of making mistakes under a national spotlight. Instead of being rushed into games just to satisfy curiosity, he gets the runway to evolve on his own timeline. Arizona understands this better than anyone. They're positioning him for long-term success instead of short-term spectacle. They don't want a freshman who flashes for 5 minutes. They want a future starter, a leader, a multi-year force who knows the system inside out. And when Bryce finally steps onto that court, the expectations will be there. But so will the readiness. He won't just be LeBron's son trying to find his place. He'll be a player who earned his moment. The narrative doesn't end because he didn't play this season. It resets. It rebuilds. It becomes something deeper. Delayed doesn't mean denied. It means he's being prepared for the moment that actually matters. And when that moment comes, the basketball world won't be waiting with impatience. They'll be waiting with anticipation.